This is the Chab Dog Sports Talk Show. We're ADHD hosts that are OCD about our sports. Host Brandon Chabner brings you Eric the Well-Read, Frank the Tank, and Boston Mark for sports talk that's breaking news everywhere else. Now here's your host, Brandon Chabner.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Chab Dog Sports Talk. We're on each Sunday from 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific Time, brought to you by Chabner Law, serving Southern California's transactional legal needs, and by Chab Dog Sports Blog for your head of your sports headlines and biting sports commentary. And this is the Let's Infiltrate 1968 show, and so we're going to go back to 1968 and spend some time talking about everything that was going on back then and why it seems like we're reliving through those same experiences now, not in 2020. How are you doing, Eric?
Hey, Chab Dog.
My co-host, Eric Sove. Thank you again for making this possible with your Newport Beach studios. And we got some great stuff on today to watch. McHale's Navy, a marathon, right?
Yeah, it's a McHale's Navy marathon on the Decades channel. Mm-hmm. So we're in black and white mode here.
Nice.
Phil Silvers.
Nice to see Phil Silvers, young Phil Silvers. He was great in Mad World. Remember that?
I was counting. You got it right. Yeah, I loved him. That crossing that river and then getting it back at the kid. Yeah, it was hilarious.
stranding Jonathan Winters out on the highway somewhere.
Okay, here's one of our calls. This is one of our guests.
Okay, we got. Is this Frank Fleming?
No.
Hello, you're on Chab Dog Sports Talk. Is this Tom?
Hey, Chab Dog, how you doing?
Tom McNulty. Been a long time no hear, man.
I know, it's been a few years. You doing okay?
I hope it's not been a few years. I think it's been a while. I just have a recollection we had you on the show maybe last year talking about the Rangers, but
right.
Could be.
Yeah, I caught not too long. Yeah. You are you staying off the dry sand, only going on the wet sand out there?
The wet sand. You mean?
So, yeah, that's what the rules are, right? You can't go on the dry sand.
Yeah. I don't know when you heard that, but you should come down here and take a walk, and you'll see that's the beach is pretty much back to normal, isn't it, Eric?
It's been back to normal for many weeks, regardless of what the rules say.
Have you met my friend Tom, by the way, personally? Tom was my roommate at Yale.
Oh, I don't believe so. Not personally. I think.
Wait a second. Maybe I have this wrong. We were never roommates. You were just.
Friends at JE, and we
were in the same residential college.
Buddy.
Yeah, and we had some of the same friends.
Yes, yeah. But so how's everything going? Following the show, it's doing great.
Oh, that's good. Well, we managed to what we've been doing is going back lately and covering a certain year in the past and focusing, on the politics, sports, and music and film of that year, since there's just so much going on now that we need to find other ways to keep ourselves occupied, and so that's what we've been doing.
Well, in the absence of sports, and speaking of Yale, did you gentlemen know that until November 14th, 1968, or it was on that date that Yale University announced it's going to admit women?
It took that long.
It did, yeah.
Can you imagine? Oh, yeah, we're just men only. No women here. Nothing to see.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess the first class is 72. But, yeah, you're right about sports. I mean, here's how bad it is. I'm watching the Premier League. I mean, can you imagine that? I mean, you got...
So's Frank.
I hate soccer.
Oh, this is...
I try to watch this Premier League.
Frank Fleming, one of our other contributors.
Makes you angry? Why, Tank?
They just keep moving back and forth. They just kick the ball back and forth, and then they shoot the ball.
What did he say?
He's right. They kick it back and forth. They also go backwards. Like, you got to pass backwards. That makes a lot of sense. Plus, these, it's like these teams. It's like British Airways versus Chevy. I mean, it's just weird. Their uniforms. They don't. They don't put their team on there. It's whoever's paying the bill.
Well, they don't have MLS either. MLS. It's a soccer game.
It is. It's a little footy, as they call it. But yesterday was Bundesliga was on, so you can get your Dortmund and Leipzig fix.
I watched a soccer game. What was it? Wednesday. It was Napoli against Juventus, and it was for the Italian Cup. And I go, wow, it's a championship game. I gotta watch this. Of course, the game was 0-0, and then it was decided by penalty kicks. And then I find out afterwards, oh no, that's just a tournament that they do for fun. That's not the league championship.
Yeah, they call them friendlies, which I don't get either.
And during the tournament, well, I mean, come on, what do you have? 2 champions in the league? You have the league champion and the Italian Cup champion, and the Italian Cup doesn't just have the top leagues in there. The Italian Cup, oh, here comes the graduation parade. Oh, fun. Looks like I'm going to be stuck in a red light for a while.
Well, I don't know. But what are you following? I've been following your site and Facebook and the different historical things. But yeah, there was NASCAR. We had the Talladega and then the Belmont.
Yes, we had the Belmont Stakes yesterday. Yes.
Yeah, Frank, who did you bet on that race?
To win it.
Who?
Who was leading into the last mile and then decided, I'm going to rush and go, I'm Billie Jean. I'm going backwards. Can't even finish. And then to get in some cash.
Yeah, Frank's horse went backwards.
Oh, God. I don't know.
It was leading for the fucking mile. It was neck and neck with tis the law for a couple of lengths, and then all of a sudden, boom, tis the law took off, and my horse went beep, 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 and I didn't finish this year.
He won I mean, that one won by a good few lengths. I mean, he pulled out.
Yeah. Well, I went play show with Tap to win it, and I expected him to at least finish fucking third. I mean, he's seen the race the whole fucking time, and all of a sudden he doesn't even finish third.
Yeah.
You must have felt like you're the mush, Frank.
You like the scene in the Bronx Tale.
Yeah, exactly. You're cursed.
What year are you covering now? I saw was that Henry Fonda on your site?
Yeah, we're covering 1968. And Henry Fonda was pretty active in 1968. Here, you want to play him the clip from this movie? Let's see.
Yeah, here's a 1960, a lesser known 1968.
You remember this movie?
Film.
It's a good movie. We'll quiz you on it after we get done with a clip.
Yeah, it also had Richard Widmark and a bunch of other stars.
Yeah.
Richard Widmark and Harry Gardino are on a deadly manhunt in Madigan.
The music kind of sounds like the music in
Their hunting ground is New York City. Their game is a vicious killer.
He's headed for 99th Street.
They're stuck on a rooftop trying to figure out how to get off. They start chasing the criminal.
The perpetrator locked him on a roof.
So Richard Widmark jumps across.
54-year-old.
I am a cop.
Oh, here he is.
No, you're the police commissioner, and Charlie Kane's your friend.
This is Senator Fonda.
And friends aren't meant to be judged, just loved.
You mean I'm supposed to have separate rules for Charlie Kane? What? I don't even have them for myself.
Well, what about you and me here in your bedroom? Is there a separate rule for us?
He was having an
Now, which
affair
one of
with
you
her.
men is going in first?
I am.
He covers, I go in first.
Now, wait a minute.
I'm the senior man.
By only 2 days.
Dan, you go in first. Rocky, you cover him. You go with him.
Trying to get
But don't
the
use
guy
that
who
shotgun
stole
unless
their
you have
gun.
to.
I know you have a personal score to settle, but don't let it make you
Richard
reckless.
Widmark there.
Good detectives are hard to find.
He should have put his
The
bulletproof
chase
vest
is on,
but he didn't.
and the man on the spot is Madigan.
All right.
What is that accent? That the American accent that doesn't exist anymore? It was like I don't know how they talk like that. It's like, where is it from? I guess it's just a movie accent.
Like who's that? Who are you specifically referring to?
Well, the lady. I mean, that kind of what?
Oh,
is,
the
know,
lady.
The way she
Yeah,
talks. Yeah.
That was Susan Clark. She kind of had it was a weird accent. It was hard. It sounds sort of British, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah.
That was women in New York, New England. East Coast. 1960s.
Yeah, it's like a finishing school accent.
Yeah.
I had a girlfriend that had an accent like that.
There you are. Yeah.
She was from Boston, South Boston.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe that's it. And she kind of looked like Susan Clark.
Huh.
She's a big redheaded girl.
A redhead.
There's got to be It's better movies from '68 than that, right?
No, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there was the one other movie was what was the other movie? Bullet.
Oh, we had Bullet.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that car chase scene from Bullet?
Oh, yeah.
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 Steve McQueen in his '68 Mustang versus
The Charger.
bad guys in a black '67 Charger.
Yeah.
Racing around the hills of San Francisco.
What else from '68?
Oh, jeez.
What
2001: A Space Odyssey.
That was the big movie.
Coogan's Bluff.
Coogan's Bluff. We had some of that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Clint Eastwood film. Jeez.
I mean, the biggest things though from '68 were the politics. So, I mean, it's just.
It got off to a rough shot. Like as early as February. Here's some civil rights history. American Civil Rights Movement, a civil rights protest staged at a white-only bowling alley in Orangeburg, South Carolina, is broken up by a highway patrolman, and 3 college students are killed. So, picture that happening today. You have having actual murders at the protest, but that's what they were doing back then. And that was spurred by more civil rights disturbances at University of Wisconsin-Madison. So way up in Wisconsin, white bread Wisconsin, they're having protests there. And then,
that was a rough year.
And the big thing was the Democrat convention.
Well, hold on, no big thing.
It starts out in January. The Tet Offensive, though.
Yeah, there was a Tet Offensive.
And then the
that was in
compound
68?
Yep.
got breached. I have some pictures when I went there in '95 before it was reached. Yeah, and so then Johnson announcing he wouldn't run.
Yep. We had Martin Luther King was assassinated on April 4th.
He was in '68?
Yes. And at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. That then riots started in Washington, Baltimore, Chicago, and Kansas
Newark?
City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there were riots in Newark and other places, but specific ones to Martin Luther King's assassination, those 4. And then on April 6th, 2 days later, there was a shootout in Oakland between the Black Panthers and the police. Yeah, like where they're firing automatic weapons. So there's like a street fight between armed black gunmen.
The Black Panthers were pretty well armed.
Oh yeah, like it wasn't like they were shooting guns. Like they had rifles and stuff. It was like an army fighting back and forth. So compared to today, this is pretty calm protest compared to, because we don't have armed black radical groups or armed radical groups. Period. Shooting at our cops.
And you're not even done with all the violence.
That's April. I'm only
it.
at April 6th. I got another page.
Okay, keep going.
Okay. April 23rd to the 30th. So for a week solid at Columbia University, they had Vietnam War protest, and they took over the administration buildings and shut down the whole university there at Columbia. So another thing we wouldn't allow today is students or anybody. Well, I guess we're allowing Chaz, so... May 11th, the Montreal Canadiens defeated the St. Louis Blues in a sweep to win the Stanley Cup.
Well, you know why we don't have it today in college campuses? Because those protesters now actually are the college professors.
Yeah, that's pretty much. They taught several generations of students, and that's why we've got weak minds today. Oh, Louisville erupted in riots.
New Haven too, right?
Sorry, what's that?
New Haven had a lot of activity then too.
Oh, it's coming. That's on the list here.
Blood on
Andy
the
Warhol
street.
got shot in the palm trees of Venice.
Yeah, but blood and something about New Haven.
Yes. Oh, June 5th, Robert Kennedy was assassinated at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles.
In L.A.
Apparently by Sirhan Sirhan, which is nonsense. But and then on July 13th, Chabdog, you mentioned this morning, but the 1968 flu pandemic began in July.
Yeah, and we had the Hong Kong flu.
The Hong Kong flu. And we looked this up, and there were over 1 million global deaths to that pandemic, and over 100,000 in the United States at that time.
Right.
With a population of
did
200 million.
Did we close down the country?
Yeah, we didn't close the country down, though.
We didn't close anything down.
Imagine that.
What's that, Tank? You're going to scream indignation?
Did we close down the country? I don't remember.
No.
Did we do that for that?
You're breaking up there, Tank. What's that?
We had backbone.
Yeah, we had a backbone, all right, because our people who ruled us all came out of the Second World War.
We didn't close down sports. All the sports managed to get through and have champions and all that stuff.
We closed nothing down. It's just
nothing.
Like, get out there and work. I mean, it's just like okay,
we just because it was called a flu, so it was people. I think people thought it was like the regular flu. Right?
It was the Hong Kong flu.
It didn't have the same scary, implication. It's just when you call
it did
it
to those
else.
who lived through. There were still people alive then who would live through 1918 because that was only 50 years
the
earlier.
Spanish flu, though, yeah, that was really serious.
Maybe, Doc Fauci wasn't around then to tell us. Now he went after football this weekend, saying we may not play football. So that may be, I don't know.
Well, that's the end of Fauci.
That's not going to work.
So you go. You had all the liberals going, Dr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci. It's a gift to be simple, it's a gift to be free, it's a gift.
I sense panic in his voice.
All I need is my labor, as I slip for my better people. I do anything, and we're better off living like this way, thanks to King Obama,
just turn your volume down a little bit, Tom.
All right now, no sports, no TV, so now on our screen. This is what the life will be like for the rest of our fucking life.
That was good.
That was good. I got the fight song.
Yeah, he creates this all by.
I mean, do you think if he says Auburn and Alabama can't play, they'll listen to him?
I know. I won't. My son's going to Alabama. You know that?
No, I saw the picture you posted. I didn't know where. No, I didn't know. So that's
I'm gonna be at those games, man. You're gonna have live boots on.
That's a long way from Southern California. How do you come across? A lot of people from here go there, but it's not as far.
Yeah, well, it's just that they have some programs there for him that are going to be particularly well suited for what he's interested in studying, and also the kind of support he needs. So. It made a lot of sense. We were actually looking at Rutgers too, but that was too. I don't know. It was a little intimidating. It's a little because of all the you have to take buses everywhere. The school is not as connected and cohesive.
Rutgers campus is so spread out; it's a joke.
Yeah,
they have like 3 different schools.
3 or 4.
One's like the Livingston's campus.
Yeah, you know.
Because it's like it really is all spaced out. And not only does he have to take buses.
Yeah.
Those buses are owned and operated by New Jersey Transit, so that means he won't be getting anywhere.
New Jersey Transit. No, it's over.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, you're from New Jersey too, right? Bernardsville, is that right?
Went to high school there. Originally from New York, but so I know a lot of kids from my class went to Rutgers. I've been there many times. It is spread out. And
when did you live in Bernardsville?
Lived in Mendham.
Yes, in Bernardsville. You know who used to live in Bernardsville in the late 80s, don't you?
Bernard. No, who?
Pablo Escobar.
Mike Tyson.
Oh, Mike Tyson.
He lived,
nice.
Yeah, he had a mansion, that's right. And so, that's right, he lived there. I don't know, maybe he still does. Or is he in Vegas?
No, he sold that years ago.
next to each other, Burnsville, Basking Ridge, and Mendham. So, yeah, Rutgers was 45 minutes south. And we must have had 25 from my high school class go there. That's the state, that's the state school of New Jersey.
That's right.
And
they were.
Well, congratulations. Yeah. So he's a year ahead. Yeah. So he's heading out.
Mm-hmm.
And Tuscaloosa. And
gorgeous campus.
I don't think the SEC is reading any of the memos from Fauci. I don't.
No. They're throwing him in the trash.
He's on ignore.
Yeah, they're wiping their with it, and they know hell bent or come help. They're going to have their season. They're going to make sure they have that experience this year, I think
the true same for the NFL. They're going to ignore Fauci as well. Fauci can say whatever he wants, but it's what's...
Well,
so young people
you have to accept that you're going to have...
Just live our lives. It's ridiculous. We've shut down too fucking long. It's time to live our lives.
But 2 people tested positive yesterday at the workouts, so they had all these sports are panicking because the players are testing.
Tom Brady and Gronk test positive.
The players are testing positive.
The news like spear porn.
Brady and Gronk tested positive?
I was just kidding. I was just kidding about that.
Were they painting each other's toenails?
Yeah, what are they doing?
Well, that's exactly what they were doing. Yeah, they were definitely within 6 feet of each other.
Yeah.
They sleep in bed with each other, for crying out loud. And we know that. I don't have to exaggerate there.
There's still an NFL franchise.
All the news is now is fear porn.
Yeah, fear porn.
Because they want to manipulate and control people, so we embrace the coming Marxism.
But the reality is, and I believe the NFL is going to remind us or enforce this or force us to realize this, is that millions of people are going to have this. And of the age bracket most NFL players are, which are under 30, it goes through them like shit through a geese. Through a goose. So it doesn't hurt. Yeah, and you know what? We just get on with our lives.
You are seeing in some of these states, a lot more infections, but the hospitalization rate is not.
Some Yankees have it.
A lot of the owners, they're old. Jerry Jones, I don't know, would COVID maybe dissolve his face? Because a lot of that is synthetic.
A lot of it, all of it. 15 years ago.
All right, what's it, Tom? What's it like in Texas? Are you seeing a lot more people missing work and stuff? Is it really starting to go up there?
Yeah, the state's pretty much open. The governor announced on Friday schools will reopen on time. They say there's a spike. They have 4,000 new cases. The population here is 25 million, though.
Right, so you're not noticing.
You can't say that. You have to accentuate the negative.
Yes. Fatalities have not gone up. It depends on the company. Like companies based here, you see people at work. But if the company is based somewhere else, then generally they're still closed.
Well, what are you? Your company is.
Yeah, we're open. We open on May 18th.
So do you social distance when you go there and wear a mask?
I do actually, just to be polite. I think it's fair, especially in elevators. I don't mind. I got a camo one that's pretty sharp.
Oh, cool.
It's all camo.
Oh.
So, yeah. And because otherwise it's a scarf and you look like a stagecoach robber.
Or you're a member of Al Qaeda.
You have cowboy hat on and your bandana, and I'm ready to wear.
You have to do what you have to do.
Yeah, the stagecoach robber days are done. Yeah, it's a camo one. I do because in case people on the elevator, it's a polite thing, but it's also hot. So
Houston in the summer.
It's not back to normal here, but it's more active than many other states. I think.
Well, it doesn't sound like it's anything out of control, but it is something to worry about, I guess.
It was reported nationally there are more cases, and that's fine. We know there's going to be more cases. They're testing more, but guess what? And there are more hospitalizations. We knew that, but there's nothing overwhelming. The reality is, so despite, I don't care what the press says or what they don't say, but the reality, the truth is, there's nothing overwhelming right now. There's nothing overwhelming on the horizon, so we can all just calm down.
Are you guys, you're both in Manhattan Beach?
No, I'm in Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach area. Eric's in Newport Beach.
I'm in Orange County.
And that's Orange County.
Orange County, yeah.
In Orange County, we have a population of 3.2 million people, and we've had 270 deaths, and that's really pushing it hard.
You need to shut down.
Yeah, I know.
and half of those, are 30%, were in nursing homes.
Another 30% were in prisons. So they were institutional settings.
Yeah, but so when you really look at what we're at risk for.
Yeah, and that's what tells me the NFL is going to play this fall, and that sanity at some point is going to return.
Yeah, well, let's see.
He's
the media doesn't want sanity to return. When Joe Biden wins in November, you're going to see this on November 4th.
Oh,
brand new, everything's going to lift, like the fucking clouds. And then Stacey Abrams becomes president next year, it's going to be, get the train, boy!
I got a question for Tom, though.
Then it'll be like digging in the mines.
Mm-hmm. I got a question for Tom.
Oh, I forgot to wish you know what? I can't believe I forgot. It's Happy Father's Day.
Thank you. Yeah.
On the line.
Yes. Thank you. And I'm gonna lose to my son in basketball today, or maybe I'll beat him. It's like 50-50 these days. But he's getting a lot better. He's gotten really pretty good because he's tall. He's taller than you, Tom, I think.
Yeah, he looks big in the pictures. I haven't seen him in it's a long time. He's little, but he's a year. Yeah, he's a year older than my daughter, so she'll be a senior.
Oh yeah, well, same to you. Have a great Father's Day with her. You can take her out or something, whatever you would do. Yeah,
we're going to a brunch lunch thing because you probably knew this. I don't know. My mom lives here now, so the three of us.
Oh, that's nice.
They left the People's Republic of Massachusetts 3 years ago. So
be careful. My parents still live there.
I know. Which commissar do they report to?
They're. What do you mean? Where do they live? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, I know they like it there.
Yeah.
It's all right. But I can't resist the joke though.
No, but my question to you was: were any of the monuments defaced or destroyed down in Texas, and what happens?
There's been some activity around that, but not that much. I know there was one somewhere in downtown that was being sort of considered for removal. What they're doing here a little bit more is getting in front of it by, if they're removing them, they're removing them without spray paint. In other words, they're removing them and then putting them in museums, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they're protecting them.
So I don't know of any that have been kind of ripped down, but it's been spared. The state hasn't had a lot of the massive disruptions. There have been a little bit here and there in Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, the bigger cities here too, but it's been kind of disproportionately less troubled. So we'll see. Houston's the most diverse city in the country, so maybe, I don't know, that may be why, maybe not, I don't know. But it hasn't been that bad with boarding up in like Fifth Avenue, where for 30 blocks everything's boarded up. We haven't had that.
You didn't have a lot of looting in Houston?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's been disproportionately less given the size of the cities. Not sure why.
They know Texas they just know how to keep people in line. They know what they're doing down there.
Maybe, and also
I don't know.
We'll see. But
I don't get that feeling in some of these big cities, obviously, and L.A. had Father Junipero Serra got taken down, I heard, and I don't know why that was. What was all that about? Anything?
What about Manhattan Beach? Has it been peaceful? Because I saw Santa Monica.
Pretty peaceful. What?
Pictures from a couple of weeks ago where Santa Monica.
Oh, yeah.
That walking area. I've been there with you, where it's a pedestrian mall got wasted.
Yeah, no, a nice part called the 3rd Street Promenade where a lot of people shop. People enjoy that on the weekends. It's a great, and families go there. And yeah, there was a lot of shops that were vandalized. And Oh, that's the Jewish part of town. Yeah.
And Manhattan Beach. Okay, though, so far.
We did?
No,
Why?
I mean, have you been okay so far where you are?
Yeah, we're fine. We're fine.
Good.
I mean,
Good.
I did think about buying a gun, but I shouldn't even be talking about that. But we are.
I don't think.
Yeah, to all the potential,
help.
all the potential thieves out there, I have a gun. So don't think I don't have a gun, because I do. I'm going to make my own movie. It's going to be called.
We have guns already.
It's going to be called Dirty Chabby.
Dirty Chab. There you go.
Not just because of my office.
Are you going to go east for the summer like you always do? Don't you always head for?
Yeah,
August?
we're going off.
Spend time with the.
Yeah, I'll be there in August. So you're welcome to fly into Nantucket and hang out with us. We have a lot of good food.
It's a nice spot. Yeah, I know. You see your whole family then. Be good.
Yeah, my sister's kids will be there too. They've got a few. She's got 2 kids that are at Yale. Three. Wait, no, one graduated. So that they have two sons that are both there now. Yeah.
Wow, that's generation 3, right? 3rd generation.
Yeah, because it was my dad, and then me and my sister, and then our kids.
Yeah. That's great. Great.
Thanks. So yeah, it'll be a nice little vacation, but it won't be the same. There'll be no Red Sox, and I thought we'd have NBA playoffs, but
you don't think we'll have baseball by August, or are you thinking no season at all now?
I'm thinking no season. What do you think, Frank?
Well, yeah, let's cover that. Yeah, what's going on? They're fighting over what? What are they fighting over? Could it be money?
Could it be money? Maybe.
Nah.
Well, Frank, do you even want to talk about this?
Oh, did we lose Tech?
I don't know if we lost him.
Well, MLB, NBA is going to
there.
play in Disney World, right?
That was still the plan, but as of yesterday, but there's these reports coming out that people are coming down with the testing positive, and that's freaking the teams out, and they're stopping their practices. I guess they had preliminary practices or something.
Yeah, and they're having some positive cases come up, so there's some issue there, whether that's going to work or not.
Yeah, so it kind of sounds to me like.
But they weren't coming on until the end of July anyway, so I think it's preliminary.
I think it's still supposed to happen, but there's been a little bit of doubt cast on it.
My idea is you shut them all down and let's start football up in August and call it a day.
And just go forward with football and forget everything.
Because that's the thing that people really care about. It's pretty hard to even think about watching pro basketball in August and September while football's going, and
yeah, I don't care.
it's such a massive cluster. You know what?
Basketball's going to start up in October anyway. So what are you going to play all the way to September? And then
it doesn't make
no.
Yeah. NHL could start on schedule.
That's right.
And just go, and they go into camp, and then they start playing. Don't they start playing in November or even October?
Yeah, it's October.
Yeah, October.
Mm-hmm.
So just let the NFL. Yeah, we already missed it already. So.
And then the Rangers begin their inevitable march to the Stanley Cup Championship.
Inevitable?
Yeah.
It's only been like 17 years, right? Or 16 years? Wait, no, 26. 26. It was 1994. You guys won.
94. Yeah.
That was with Mark Messier holding the cup up, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'll never forget that. Yeah, that was a great series too, because Vancouver was good, weren't they? It
went 7.
It went 7.
We had a riot on Robson Street. I was living in Vancouver at the time.
Who was the big guy from Vancouver that was causing all the problems? He was a very good
Pavel
Bure. Good job, man.
Yeah.
You got
that. I was there.
And the Knicks weren't the Knicks in the NBA Finals then too?
Hey, I think you're right.
1994. That was the year that the Knicks played the Rockets, and the Rockets got by them, and I think that was 7 games, wasn't it?
It was. It was Rudy T. and Elijah Wan. They won back-to-back, 94, 95, I think.
Yeah. That was actually when I was there. Was 90. I was still there.
You were living. They were playing in the Summit here, right?
Yeah. I went to the few of the Summit games.
Yeah, now that's a mega church.
A mega church, a big Baptist church?
No, it's Joel Osteen. He literally bought
Oh, that's
Joel Osteen.
Where, yeah,
Okay.
that's where that used to be where the Rockets played.
Isn't
that funny? He's from Houston,
I'm not
too.
joking. It's called Lakewood Church.
Yeah, but he's from Houston.
And he's pretty big
grew up
down
where you're
there,
living
right?
now. Wow.
I think they seat more people than they did when the Rockets played.
Okay, here's a question I had. Why? So did you see Trump's rally last night?
I kind of caught pieces of it, but Ford v Ferrari was on HBO, and I found myself watching more of that than the rally.
Oh, it's a good film. It's a good movie. No, I get you there.
That's
I
a
never
good movie.
I never
Talk
saw
about-
that. So.
They mentioned
Ford
that Ford, the Steve McQueen Ford from Bullet. It's before Bullet, but that's a good movie.
Okay.
Well, it's Carol Shelby and
Because,
I
Cock.
did flip over, and when I flipped over, he was pointing to people in the crowd, like the senators, and then various VIPs in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
When it started, he was talking about his leather shoes and the ramp at West Point, so I switched back to the movie.
Yeah, because he got into all these anecdotes and things about, but it was kind of very, it was interesting because the crowd seemed to like it and they were eating it up. So he just kept going and going and going. I think it went for 2.5 hours, but it was
really?
Yeah, he could talk like Fidel. He could do the 3 hours.
He had all the
Yokohama
energy.
Tires just scored.
Oh boy, they're not supposed to score. Huh?
Yokohama Tires just scored. They're up 2-1 against. I think it's British Airways.
Why didn't he have it?
Anyway,
He should have had the rally in Houston. Then he would have had he could have gotten all Olstein's people, and they would have had a full crowd.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't. It didn't look full.
No,
it wasn't even close.
but the campaign got trolled, and
They got fooled by the Korean.
somebody
ticket
fooled him,
purchasers.
and it wasn't. They were saying it was K-pop.
It was
but
the
that's-
DNC hacked
or
into the
millennials, but they were
It's all the
exactly.
DNC's
Some
fault.
of the DNC did it, or the Russians, or maybe the North Koreans. Somebody was behind
He
this.
must be pissed.
Yeah, but there was a map.
He's going to turn red from orange.
Well, he
I
should.
don't-
because-
he
Yeah,
tried to
he could be
hide
mad.
it. I think he did a good job hiding it because he's such a narcissist that he loves being out there and having people listen to him, and he had these captive audience, and so he got into it. He should, but
Since I kept turning back to Ford v Ferrari. So what did he say? Was it about 2.5 hours? Anything good?
Well, I mean, he really came down hard on those people in Seattle and said, he said, if you don't fix this problem, I am going to take matters into my own hands and stop it. So it was reassuring to people that want to know that something's going to be done to stop this eventually,
Yeah.
And then he said he defended, he defended the idea that we should be able to have celebrate our monuments and our statues and parts of our history that we like, that we're proud of. And he was really aggressively kind of going after the idea that the Democrats are allowing these agitators and this stuff to happen in our cities, and that it was kind of George. It reminded me of some of the things you heard in 1968 coming out of George Wallace's mouth.
Okay.
And playing on that because there is a lot of fear in the country, and so it makes perfect sense to try to tap into that. But he also believes it, so it's and a lot.
Well, when I saw the clip of the empty stands, I was thinking, wow. he used to always fill them up. So he must be trading way down.
Yeah, it looked bad. I mean, because you saw these empty seats above, and you're thinking that doesn't look like a normal Trump rally. When I guess I have the Republican convention in my mind in 2016, which was huge, and there's tons of people, and it does kind of take away from his image when you see something like that. Like, how did that happen?
Well, they'll fill it up when they move the convention over to Moscow, right? Is that where they're moving it to, or where's
Jacksonville?
Jacksonville. Oh, Jacksonville. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was going to be in Moscow because he's a Russian operative. That's what I was told.
You said Moscow. Yeah.
Moscow, or what?
Moscow.
But yeah, that's you would think that will be like they'll make sure that's packed. But how could they get themselves fooled like that? That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I think the issue was that the tickets, you had to, I'm not sure if they were charging for the tickets or not, but you had to go online and register for them, and they said that they were sold out.
You solve the problem by making people buy the tickets immediately.
But normally they don't charge people.
With the Chab Dog Show, weren't you giving away 10 free tickets for the third caller?
Yeah. That's right.
We're not talking about the little stuff I do doesn't have any effect really on the grand
I think they got spoofed. I think they got spoofed into thinking they were going to have a sold out crowd and get 18,000 capacity. I was just looking while you gentlemen were talking, trying to find what the actual numbers are. The press isn't reporting them for some reason. I saw a number of, just from looking at that crowd there, I got to think it was at least half full. So what do you think, Chab? About 8,000 people there, maybe?
I thought there was. Yeah, it didn't look like 3,000. It was
more than 3,000.
Like 8.
Well, why were there huge crowds outside though? I don't get that. Why wouldn't they just let them in?
Was there crowd?
No, not during when it was during the. It was
those you may have been thinking. Maybe there were counter protesters there.
There weren't even that many there.
There were people camped out. There were images of people in tents. Why would you camp out if it's half empty?
Because it's Oklahoma. You been to Oklahoma? You been through there?
Yeah, I go there a lot for work. I mean, I've been to Tulsa and OKC. Ooh. I mean, the Tulsa's a little different. It's more wooded, hilly. The Arkansas River runs through there. That's why Cotton was there. It's right next to Arkansas. OKC is very flat. It's more like the Southern Plains. It's a small state, though. They're only two hours apart or thereabouts, 2.5. Got two cities.
So
yeah, I guess what I'm saying is that it's like it's. I remember I'm aggravated driving through Oklahoma because I always got to pay a toll. So I don't like it, and then Tulsa, it just doesn't. It's not aesthetically very appealing.
You know what? You know what's in Tulsa?
What?
Oral Roberts. It's a big school
there.
Yeah, Oral Roberts. Yeah. I thought that was a joke.
Oral
Roberts. So you're going to get oral? I mean, oral? Oral Roberts. It's a joke right
It's a punchline of a joke I used to know.
I think it is a red state, I believe. And very small, though.
Mm-hmm, very small.
Wow, that is interesting. He's gonna fire somebody. I mean, somebody's gonna
somebody fucked up.
Well, it's either that or it's back to security, though. I mean, do you fire somebody? It was cybersecurity. Tank, we're talking about. I got Frank Fleming back on the line here. We lost him, but he's back on.
Yeah, talk to him about this. Maybe he knows.
I don't know. I think he's being jammed by the Ukrainians. I think his phone, his dial-in, he's being jammed.
No,
yeah. Well, I'm sitting here. I had to get off for a few minutes because I'm sitting in Rutt's Hut parking lot right now.
Oh, sweet.
He was underneath the big dig where there's no reception underneath the big dig.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's at Rutt's Hut now.
I just picked up 2 rippers.
Yes. 2 rippers. Oh,
he's got some good food, Tom.
Yeah,
Listen
Frank's going for food.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, go for it, Tank.
Well, you know Rutt's Hut. It's the famous place for the rippers. Voted 2 years in a row the best hot dog joint in America.
Okay. Is this
1947?
Take the hot dogs and you throw them. What?
When did they open?
This place opened in 1928.
1928. Okay. And they boil the dogs in vegetable oil, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you?
It's a real but it's like a place that you really have to go. It's tucked between Route 3 and Route 21 here in Clifton.
Clifton.
Cash only.
So have you had the dog yet, or what? Where are you in your process?
I just ate one, and I am chewing on the second one right now.
Okay, well, tell me what's so good about it.
Oh, they're the perfect hot dog. You take a bite of them, and they actually crunch. You can get something called a cremator, which is where the hot dog completely turns black.
Wow. Well, I want to come out there and eat at the Grinds, because every time I see your postings, Jab Dog of the Grinds, I get, I mean, that looks good.
Brian?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Available at the moment. Please leave a message.
These hot dogs are
I'll get back to you as soon as possible.
We got Brian online now, too.
Yeah, the grins
These hot dogs crunch.
Okay. Yeah, so Frank was describing what was so a hot dog that crunches is really special.
Oh, yeah, when the skin...
When it has a snap.
Yeah.
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 Oh, that's what Nathan's is like. There's a crunch when you bite into Nathan's.
Really?
Well, the old style, probably the old...
Well, if you go to the right Nathan's, yeah, you can get a good crunch.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know
How
that.
many of those can you eat?
Frank?
Oh, I could eat like 5 to 10 hot dogs if I had no
10?
no inclination to stop. Today I just got 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, nothing to be ashamed of. How many does Kobayashi eat, or that other guy, Joey Chestnut?
Chestnut.
Oh, like 30 or 20. I mean,
No, 60.
I thought it was 70.
I think he actually made it up to 7 once.
Oh, my goodness.
He did what?
Yeah.
He has 70 once.
He ate 70?
70.
70.
Oh, my God. Well, he's not going to be growing old.
Yeah, but he has a lot of nice belts.
Well, those nitrates will keep his body well preserved. You won't need embalming.
God, there's so many bad chemicals in there, but it tastes so good.
But I got to congratulate. We have to congratulate Tank. I saw your weigh on this morning. You lost weight. How did that happen?
Well, I'm trying to get some walking in and do more exercise.
Well, obviously, you're doing more than trying.
See,
you had
it
positive
happened.
results. You had
It happened. He did it.
Double-digit weight loss.
I think I told him to do that.
That was just from walking, or did you change your eating as well?
Well, I'm just doing less. I'm just eating a little less here and there.
Oh, play Tank our special music. We got a special song for you today.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
That's right.
let's see if he could guess who sang it.
It's
okay,
from 1968.
1968. Turn it up.
Yummy, 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 I got love in my tummy and I feel like loving you. Love you such a sweet thing, good enough to eat thing, and it's just a what I'm gonna do.
Long side
Ooh, love to hold ya. Ooh, love
And
to
no
kiss
part in
ya.
her hair.
Ooh, love,
Just
I
a
love
mop.
it
A
so.
mop top.
So Midwest.
Ooh,
I love
love
the
is sweeter,
porn
sweeter
stars,
than
too.
sugar. Ooh, love, I won't let you go.
Except for the guy with the porn stash.
Yummy, 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 I got love in my tummy and as silly as it may seem.
Okay.
Okay.
That's enough of that.
Ah, man.
Can anyone name the band?
Archie's?
Your recording has reached the maximum
Archie's.
length.
No,
To replay your message,
you got a
press
message
1.
machine.
To delete and re-record your message,
No, it's
press
No, it's
2.
Ohio
For delivery
Express.
options, press 4.
the hell's going
To
on?
send a fax, press 6. To cancel this message, press star.
No, it's
To
Brian.
send this message now,
Yeah, I know, we
press
got-
pound or hang up.
He's probably going to call him later.
Well, we interrupted. You were
To
up
replay
to
your
June.
message, press 1. To delete and re-record
Okay,
your
hold on a
message,
sec.
press 3.
Is there a way to get
For
rid of that?
delivery options, press 4. To send a fax, press 6. To cancel this message,
This is the
press
hazards of
star.
using
To send
Skype.
this message now, press pound or hang up.
I'm trying to hang up, but it's I don't want to hang up on everybody else. I just want to hang up on this. Jeez.
To replay your message, press 1. To delete and re-record your message, press 3.
Sorry.
For delivery options, press 4. To send a fax, press 6. To cancel this message,
This
press
is
star.
this is a
To send this message
Like
now,
Chinese
press
water
pound
torture.
or hang up.
all right. There we go. Well,
Tab Dog, you need a new
Was the
engineer.
Singers the Archies?
yeah.
Your message has been
Was
sent.
the Singers?
Thank you for calling.
Oh my God!
Goodbye.
Okay, she hung up. She hung up. She gave up.
So we left off in June on the 68. We interrupted
Yeah,
you
yeah.
a while back. So you had the chronology of 68. We're in June. RFK. What's in July?
Well, we've got here's
Is that the
interesting. So this
convention, right?
Well, we stopped off with the flu pandemic. Then we have on July 23rd to 28th, so it took 5 days, black militants led by Frank Ahmed Evans engaged in a fierce gunfight with police in the Glenville shootout of Cleveland, Ohio. So we had a 5 day shootout with an armed group of African Americans in Cleveland.
Wow.
And they must have been very well armed.
Well,
They had lots of...
We left off on sports, so we forgot. Let's go back. I mean, we had the Canadian sweep. Who won the NBA finals?
That was the Celtics.
6-7 over the Lakers.
In 68?
6. I think it was 6 games.
Oh, 6. Okay, that was 69 with 7.
Yeah.
Who'd they beat?
The Celtics.
Lakers.
Yeah.
It was an hour back then, right?
Yeah.
Red.
Bill Russell.
Nope.
And the Super Bowl was Super
Bill
Bowl
was player coach in 68.
2. So it would have been Green Bay, Oakland.
January 14th, correct.
Yeah.
Score of 33-14 in Super Bowl 2 in the Orange Bowl in Miami.
Yeah, just win, baby.
No, we do have a good Mickey Mantle clip here. If you want to, let's hear that.
July, so now it's summer, 68.
Yeah.
Violent. Baseball, who's playing well? So, I don't know. Orioles?
That was the year of the pitcher. That was the year of the pitcher.
That was the year Bob Gibson had like a 1 point something ERA. And
the pitching man
1.13, I believe.
Tall.
Yeah.
Right, the pitching man was like 6 feet tall.
Right. Well, did they raise the pitching mound there in that year? Is that what happened?
Really?
No, they lowered it. They lowered it after the year.
Okay, after the year was over.
They lowered it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the pitching, that was probably the best year of pitching since the dead ball era or something. I mean, because Denny McClain won over 30 games that year.
Oh, yeah. So
31, yeah.
Cardinals were good. The Orioles were good.
And Tigers.
July is the middle of the season. What else is going on?
Final season before the divisional play started.
Oh, no divisional play. So, yeah, so it was just... Yeah, but that was the last year we just had... You won your league and then you played in the World Series, right? Or did they have a...
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Arthur Ashe. Everyone remember him?
Yeah.
So on September 8th, he won his first
He won his first
Open.
major?
Yeah.
Which major did he win? The U.S. Open?
The U.S. Open of the Open era.
Oh.
Was that that year or was it just national? Because the Open era didn't begin to 69, I think.
Oh, well, this says September 8th.
I don't know exactly sure.
This says September 8th, 1968. Arthur Ashe wins the first U.S. Open of the Open era. Yeah, that's fine, but this was 68.
In 68 he won.
They're still playing with wooden sticks?
Pretty much everybody was still wood.
Because I was unsure if the Open era began in 68 or 69.
Okay. Well, this is claiming 68, so I don't know myself. Virginia Wade won the women's singles.
Does it say who he beat? Arthur Ashe? No.
Just Arthur Ashe.
Yeah. And what was going on in golf? Did it say who won? Like any of the? Was Jack Nicklaus?
I don't have golf, but here's an interesting.
I think we should.
Trevino?
That's a heyday. That's a peak. Isn't that his peak time? And Arnie's still playing? I mean, they must have been huge then.
Yeah. You still had and Gary Player.
Yeah.
He had some big
Lee
names.
Trevino was coming up at that time.
Yeah.
Right.
I think 68 was the year where that golfer from Argentina signed the wrong scorecard and lost the Masters.
I never even knew about that. That's crazy.
I've heard the story before, but that was 68. Yeah.
That's a guy that needs some reading glasses.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an honest. It was a mistake.
Or something like that?
Yeah. It wasn't deliberate.
It was what?
I think the guy's name is DiVincenzo or something like that.
Oh, DiVincenzo. I've heard of that. Yeah.
Here's an interesting intersection between sports and politics here. On October 7th, at the height of protests against the Vietnam War, Jose Feliciano performed the Star-Spangled Banner at Tiger Stadium, Detroit, during Game 5 pregame ceremonies of the 1968 World Series between the Tigers and the Cardinals. His personalized, slow Latin jazz performance proved highly controversial, opening the door for later interpretations of the national anthem.
Really? I'd like to hear that.
There's where it began.
Could we actually get to hear that?
Yeah, can you find it? The Cardinals won that too, right?
No, the Tigers.
Got into a lot of hot water over that, and now people actually like it.
I think it would be cool to hear that.
I'll look for it during the break.
Yeah.
Who won that World Series?
He now does it regularly like that. I actually went to a Yankee game in 2018, and Jose Feliciano did the national anthem like that.
Oh yeah, what did it sound? You like the way it sounded?
I can leave it or take it. You know who did a real good national anthem?
Wow.
At the 1983 All-Star game, Marvin Gaye. You got to see that one.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He did it with like a drum section, like a rhythm section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
I could just imagine why that would be good. Yeah.
Yeah. He died too young.
And then his father decided to shoot him on year later.
Okay. Before we get to the end of the hour, Tank, Tom asked about the World Series in 1968, and yeah, I mean the Denny McClain and the Tigers won that. But what about that World Series stands out to you? Or is there anything about that you wanted to talk about?
That the Cardinals blew a 3-1 lead. That Bob Gibson started the series with 16 strikeouts in Game 1, a World Series record. That Bob Gibson won 3 games in the World Series in '67, won 2 games in '64, had 5 that was looking to win 3 games again in '68, lost Game 7 to Mickey Lolich, who actually won 3 games in the World Series. And the big play was Kurt Flood misplaying a fly ball in center field.
Oh, yeah. Who was the guy that hit that fly ball? Was that Jim Northrup?
Yes, I believe it was.
Yeah. That's the way I remember him for that. Yeah.
How do you... Wow. I got it wrong. I thought the Cardinals would have won. So, man, that is...
No, the Cardinals won in '67, and then they blew a 3-1 lead in '68.
Yeah.
And the Tigers won.
So don't feel too sorry for the Cardinals. Are you, Tom? Did you say you're a Cardinals fan?
No, my teams don't change. My teams are the same all the way through, always.
New
York Football Giants.
New York.
Metropolitans, Rangers, and Knicks. Nothing changes.
Okay, so you and Frank have a lot in common.
Metropolitans.
You both like the Metropolitans.
Poor man.
You know that you're talking to the angry Mets fan here. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah. No, I know from following you on when you guys post. Sometimes I'll play the show, but
yeah.
There's no anger. I'm just a loyal Mets fan. There's no anger.
Is there any sadness?
It's more, you just take a Buddhist approach to the Mets and you'll be fine.
Religion was going to come into this.
Yeah, it's a matter of you could help Frank if you maybe gave him some tips. Cause
we could do therapy weekly.
Yep.
Yeah.
We get him on the couch.
I'd like to hear those sessions.
They gave all their
good.
money to Madoff, so what do you expect?
Madoff was a silent partner to the Mets. The problem was.
Yeah.
And you got the Will Ponzi that are still trying to scheme everybody.
Yeah, don't they have a note coming due for $250 million?
Probably. Who knows?
And the word is that if there's no season, the Mets will have to cut the payroll down to $20 million.
In order to make the payment on the note, yeah. Yeah, that's a serious. That's not idle talk.
Now, Frank's.
And the rumor is that Pete Alonso will be sold for $10 million and loans to the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Oh, I like it. Yeah, well, I'll give you 12 for Alonso.
And Jacob DeGrom's going to go to the Yankees. Jacob DeGrom's going to go to the Yankees for the Yankees buying SNY.
Yeah.
There's just so much cheating. I mean, I think they're going to lose their fan base if they don't play. They're fighting over money, and everybody's cheating.
The Mets are also firing the Mets announce booth. It's not going to be Gary Keith and Ron anymore. It's going to be Chris Carlin. Who's going to voice it out like this? Football, losing gives experience, character, and that's why we should be embraced the losses. Losing is good for the soul.
Trying to imitate Susan.
Susan who?
That's Susan. Imitation of Susan. What's Susan's last name?
It's not Susan Clark.
No, Chris Carlin. That's Chris Carlin.
That was Chris Collinsworth. Okay.
Chris Collinsworth.
That wasn't Chris Collinsworth.
Yeah, I know what he sounds like. Yeah, that does sound like him.
Sounds more like Susan.
Well, we got to go to a break, so we're going to be back. You're welcome to stay on, guys.
Next week.
Oh, yeah, guys. Hey, look, I'll call back.
All right.
Because it's Father's Day. I'm 2 hours ahead. I got to get ready for the
Well, thank you so much, Tom.
I'll call next week. I can stay on longer.
Yeah, it was great having you on. You add a lot to the show, and you're one of my best friends out there. So thank you for calling me.
No, same. Likewise. Great. It's great to talk to all of you. I'll call him more. I'll try again next week. Then I can stay on.
Okay.
But it's noon here. We're 2 hours ahead of the California time. And again, happy Father's Day to everybody.
Same to you.
And we'll see if the country. We'll see. I'll call in next week. See if the country's still around a week from now.
I know.
Frank predicted would end by now.
It'll always be. You're safe in Texas.
I'll see you next week.
All right, thanks, Frank. You were entertaining as hell as usual, and try to get on the couch. Call Tom; he'll help you calm down. Okay, let's go to the break. We'll be right back
on the Chab Dog Sports Talk Radio Show.
We're told that greatness is exceptional, what it should be expected. You choose every day to live your life intentionally, without apology for how bright your light may shine. So go be great. Go be brilliant. Go be you. Go defy life. The Defy Life movement is one that speaks to each of us in its own way. Defy Life Gear speaks to us all by reminding us that one size does not fit all. Visit DefyLifeGear.com to get fitted for greatness.
The law office of Brandon S. Chabner, serving clients in Southern California with transactional legal services since 2007. We handle general corporate, outside counsel type work, drafting and negotiating a wide variety of business and commercial contracts, including non-disclosure agreements, independent contractor agreements, and employment agreements. Our experience includes working with public and private companies and involves a broad range of industries, including healthcare, consumer products, real estate, and high technology. Mr. Chabner has over 20 years of legal experience, having worked for some larger national firms and serving as general counsel for a multi-million-dollar private company here in Southern California before starting his own legal practice. His educational credentials include a law degree from UCLA, where he was on law review, undergraduate degree at Yale, where he graduated magna cum laude, and an MBA from Harvard Business School. Other areas of focus for Chabner Law include press release and business plan editing, pre-litigation matters, and debt and mortgage resolution work. You can contact us at 310-698-0740 and at bchabner@chabnerlaw.com.
Like Chab Dog says that he was 100% right.
He can take all comers.
watches, rings, everything. Quick, move! You coming with me, Mom? We're gonna have us a little party, huh?
What you doing, you pig-head sucker?
Every day for the last 10 years, Loretta there has been giving me a large black coffee. Today she gives me a large black coffee, only it's got sugar in it. A lot of sugar. I just came back to complain. Now you boys put those guns down.
Say what?
Whoa. We're not just gonna let you walk out of here.
Well,
who's we, sucker?
We, sucker.
Me, Smith.
Smith and Wesson.
Me.
And me.
Blew the guy out of the restaurant.
44 magnums. Shoot elephants with that gun.
It's just, they weren't ashamed of the violence. They just used it.
Go ahead.
This is great. Is this where he... No, I guess not.
Hey, let's make my day.
Is this where he talks about his gun?
No.
Oh, okay.
His gun like a foot away from...
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Make my day.
Just thinking it over. Give him his gun. You win, Eric.
Good decision. All right, we're back. And, do we have, how many callers do we have on? Is it Brian?
Oh, I know. We have another call coming in right now.
Okay, well, this is the second half of Chab Dog Sports Talk. We're spotlighting the year 1968, and welcome to, we got a few guests to welcome. First, Brian Keller, thank you for calling in. You're a much valued co-host of this show, and you play a big part in the material we have each week. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing all right, my friends. Happy Father's Day, everyone. And,
yeah, same to you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Same to you. I hope it's happy, restful, peaceful, and enjoyable, and all that stuff, and do something special. We also have Jack Nunn on the line. He's a friend of mine. He's been on this show and one of the premier Ironman triathletes in the world. And his father's on as well, John Nunn. Is that right? Are you guys on the line?
That's right.
Oh, yep. Fantastic.
Well, thank you for calling in. It's a happy Father's Day, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. You guys going to be doing some rowing today?
Well, actually, it's complicated because of COVID. The only thing we can do right now, we can row on machines down at the boathouse, or we can row in singles.
Singles, yeah.
If we make an appointment, we have to, because of social distancing. I mean, so it's become very, very complicated, and so the situation is, I never really liked rowing on machines that much, but there's so much paperwork and so much complication getting on the water now because of all this, all these requirements and everything, that it's more enjoyable to row on a machine now. So,
that's saying something.
I think as soon as this stuff settles down a little bit, all the stuff will go away and then it'll go back to normal.
Wow,
it's interesting.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hi, gentlemen. This is Brian Keller. I got a page called Sports Rock. Nice to meet you. I was reading up on you guys. there online.
Okay.
Yeah.
My sister, the oldest one. I have 5 sisters, but my oldest sister, a year younger than me, she married a guy back in the late 70s, and during the 80s, they did a lot of the kayaking out on the ocean there.
Oh,
they were in one of those.
You mean in California?
One of those clubs. Yeah, it was California, Newport Beach. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, did they do the kayaking, or did they do outrigger canoeing, or did they? Because I got.
It was a kayaking, actually. Yeah.
I mean, like a Olympic type kayaking, or the ocean kayaking.
Oh, the ocean kayaking, and yeah, they did do some They did belong to an outrigger club. That's right. Yeah. I don't recall what it was. But,
yeah. Well, I trained actually. I trained with a group of when I first went to grad school at the University of Michigan. I was planning to. I wanted to row, but I didn't have a boat, so I ordered a boat. But then in the meantime, I got involved with these kayakers that they'd come off the Rome and they were on the Rome team in 1960.
64.
And then they were going to grad
60.
School at the University
60.
of Michigan, and so this was in 1965. I hooked up with them, and so I was training pretty hard in the kayak, but I decided to get back in the rowing boat because I had more years of experience. I had like 4 years of experience in rowing competition. So I was more physically suited for because I have long legs, and my body type was much more suited for rowing than it was for kayaking.
Yeah. You're 6'6", right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basketball height. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you do a lot of basketball?
I'll tell you, my sister got pretty buff doing that.
Oh yeah, kayaking. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. It's you definitely you know all these endurance sports like kayaking and rowing and all and swimming. I mean all the like the distance swimming, and you really get ripped because you're using your whole body.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with cycling. You get in tremendous shape also.
Yeah.
But one of the interesting things about I actually trained with some cyclists out here in California because for various reasons. But there was one guy by the name of Chuck Pranke who was a cycler who made the 68 team in the velodrome cycling, and he also managed a gym on Santa Monica Boulevard in California, and he somehow I got a hold of him or something. He said, "Hey, come on, you can train at our gym for free." So I said, "Hey, this is great," So he was training it, but one day I was down there and he was training, and he was saying he was doing all these shrugs and curls and all this stuff with his upper body, and I said, "Well, how's that helping you for cycling?" And he said, "Well, no, this is a throwback to my bodybuilding days." So he couldn't. But actually, the funny part was when we got down to Mexico, and I went to some of the velodrome, or I went to some other events, and especially after my races were over, and I saw these guys in the velodrome, and I can remember there were these French guys, and they had these giant legs. I mean, rowers have big legs, but these guys had, it was like inflated legs, and then their upper bodies were little strings. It was unbelievable. They totally developed their lower body and did nothing to their upper body. So that was kind of interesting how some of this stuff works.
And those guys were, what was their sport? The guys with the big legs and the small upper bodies?
The velodrome. The cycling velodrome.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I can imagine. I mean, I've been doing more cycling, and it works your legs, it works your stomach, because doesn't it work your stomach some?
Oh yeah, but it's sure. But these guys, I mean, and Chuck Pranke, of course, he looked like he looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But the problem, they were saying, okay, well, we don't want this extra weight on our upper body, so we'll just develop our lower body and not the upper body.
Makes sense.
I mean, they looked like freaks, but that's what they did.
But if you were a bodybuilder and you did a lot of cycling, that would be kind of a perfect marriage, because you could.
Well, yeah, that's what he did. I mean, and so anyway, that was pretty interesting, and that was just one of the, when I got to Mexico, that was one of the surprises that I had about watching other people from other sports.
Mm-hmm. And you did great in those Olympics. You won a bronze medal. Is that right?
Right, bronze medal in Mexico.
Yeah.
And then later, and actually it was because of the admission of women into rowing for the 76 Olympics, Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, the women had never competed at the Olympic Games before.
Wow.
And so they in Long Beach, all these women showed up to train because we had a couple of women in Long Beach that had international success. They'd gone over and they won. So all these women showed up, and we had some coaches there, and so they had, there was maybe 30 women that showed up to row in Long Beach, to train for the 76 Montreal Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, so I was down there training because I was just trying to keep in shape, and then these women would come along, and they were I say, hey, why don't you try working on your catch a little bit, or work on the release, or I was giving them a little coaching. And then and they said, hey, can you help us? And, they were asking me for help. So I said, okay. Because I was a bronze medal winner in the Olympics. So, so they believed something
sure.
what I said.
Oh, of course.
And, anyway, so then this fellow that was supposed to coach the Montreal team, a guy by the name of Ernie Arlette, had a heart condition. And his doctor told him, "Hey, there's no way you can do this. You got to take some time off because this is too dangerous." So he had to drop out, and so the Olympic Committee was looking around for someone, and these girls said, "Hey, John Nunn's pretty good. Why don't you get him?" So I became the men's Olympic rowing coach because I was volunteering and helping these women, train for the Montreal Olympics.
Wait, okay, so you helped the women train for the Olympics, and you went to the Olympics.
And then they made me the men's coach.
Oh,
so I was I was in 2 Olympics. I was competed in Mexico, and then
you were the coach in Montreal.
I coached in Montreal.
Right. Oh, okay. So you really had how did that go in Montreal? Did you guys do well?
The women's team, how'd it go?
Well, they did. Yeah, they did. Well, better. There's only been one team. One quad. I spent most of my time on the quad with 4 guys. There's only been one team since that's done as well. We made the finals. We finished 6th, and sculling is very, very popular in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been going downhill in sculling because all our collegiate programs, basically all the club programs have been destroyed because of they've sucked off all the people and put them on a national team. So all the local stuff has been wiped out, and so there's no development, and all the people are coming up are sweep rowers, which is one oar for 2 hands, and the sculling is 1 oar in each hand.
Yeah.
And so it's a different technique, and the European guys really concentrate on that, and they have they do a lot of sculling, and so we have real trouble. As a matter of fact, for Tokyo, for Rio, we had no men's sculling team made the Rio Olympics, and for Tokyo, I don't think they haven't finalized who's going yet. I don't think, but I don't think anybody is qualified for the men's scullers. I don't think any of them are qualified for Tokyo yet, or it doesn't look like they will. But
wow,
they possibly could. But
you were like
you
were like the last of the Mohicans in terms of
kind of because it's there was in double in the '84 Olympics when they were here. They and I'm trying to remember the guy's name, but I should know him. There was an American double that won a gold medal. Of course, that was the boycott. In other words, the Jimmy Carter had boycotted the Moscow Olympics in 1980. So Moscow or the Soviets retaliated by getting all the communist bloc countries to boycott Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
So those were all the strong, the East Germans, the Czechs, the Soviets, all these the Bulgarians, all these really, really good teams didn't show up because they were boycotting, the political, to retaliate for the Carter boycott
for the 1980 Moscow boycott,
the Afghanistan invasion,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that sport may never. It's going to be who knows how long before that comes back the way it was in the United States.
The women actually have been doing pretty well because they're getting a lot of because what's happened, the Montreal Olympics basically triggered this explosion in women's rowing and the passage of Title IX by the Congress, which said women have to have an equal opportunity to compete in sports with men at college. And the universities for years were trying to say, what the heck are we going to do? Because the University of Wisconsin started it, and they were saying, let's add diving and figure skating and gymnastics, and they were trying to figure out all these sports to add to offset the football team, because the men's football team has like 110 or some guys on it. See, and they were having this, and then somebody had the idea at the University of Wisconsin, hey, let's add a rowing team for the women, and we can just throw 100 women on the water, boom, one sport, offset the football team. And so that's what they did, because they had a rowing team at Wisconsin, but then they just made a bigger women's rowing team, and they with one sport they offset. And the other thing was that they could go to Susie on the campus and the freshman Susie and go say, hey, how'd you like to be a rower? And she could say, oh yeah, I'd like to try. Well, you can't go up to Susie and say, how'd you like to be a gymnast? Or how'd you like to be a diver? Or how'd you like to be in most any sport? How'd you like to be a basketball player? Most sports you have to start when you're 5, and spend a long time. Learning it. And rowing, you can pick up real fast, and that's what I did at Cornell. Actually, I was planning. My dad actually had played football and lacrosse at Cornell back in the 30s, and that's what I was. And in high school, I played football and basketball. I said, well, I'm gonna be a football player like my dad, because I went to Cornell also, and so that's what my plan was. And what happened was it was just kind of a weird coincidence, I guess, of how I got there and what happened. But basically, I showed up, and then of course I'd moved around a lot, and my dad was moving all over the place with his jobs, and we lived for 6 years in Canada, and that's where I went all through high school in Canada. And so I went to the football coach I just showed up for freshman registration, kind of right before registration, and talked to the football coach, and he said, I got my team already picked, and you don't have much chance. And besides, he said that, I haven't had any luck with any Canadian players. And
he said that.
I said, well, I'm not Canadian. I'm an American, and he wasn't too impressed. And he said, well, if you come out and look at practice, if it doesn't look too tough for you, come on out. So I said, okay. So then I walked right from his office over to this place called Barton Hall at Cornell. And they actually had a quarter-mile track inside of this building. And they have this huge building. They used it for ROTC marching around and all this indoor stuff. And they played basketball, and but they have these huge indoor things because the weather sucks. They get in Ithaca, they get 30 days of sunshine every year, whether they need it or not. And it's really, really bad. I mean, it's overcast all the time.
Wow.
The weather just is terrible. And but anyway, so I'm in there, I'm in line, and then that was in the old days of index cards. And the index cards, you're walking around the tables and signing up for courses and this kind of stuff. It was all there. There wasn't any computers, didn't exist.
No registration. I remember that.
Yeah, and so I'm walking around, and so what the rowing team would do is they would send some of their guys around to look for big kids that didn't look like they knew where the hell they were going or what they were doing, because they're looking for freshmen, whatever. So anyway, so this guy comes over to me and says, "Hey, how would you like to go out for rowing?" I said, "Well, I'm going to play football." He said, "Well, we got a really good team here, and your graduation year, 64, is an Olympic year, and we're going for the Tokyo team." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Why don't you come over and talk to the coach?" And I said, "Okay, I'll go." So I go over and talk to the coach, and he says, "Well, how tall are you? How much do you weigh?" And I said, "Well, I'm 6'6", and I weigh 197."
Wow.
And he said, "That's perfect."
Yeah.
And he said, "Have you had any experience?" I said, "No."
It was a dream come
That's
true.
the way we like them. So I said, "Well, maybe I'll give it a try." And as it turned out, and then two coincidences. One guy, the guy that grabbed me in line, turned out to be this guy by the name of Bill Stowe, who I ended up rowing on the varsity with, and winning the national championship in my sophomore year. And he went on. He graduated in 62. Then in 64, he went down to Philadelphia, rowing with his Vesper club, qualified for the Olympics in '88, and they went to Tokyo and won the gold medal. And so that was the guy that grabbed me. It was so this, and so there's a lot of good things happening. And then it just turned out that sport was just I was ideally suited for that sport, and I wasn't really ideally suited for a lot of other sports, or maybe any other sports. So it's kind of what your
wish I had that kind of
and then it was a tremendous coincidence. I mean, I'd had a grandfather that rowed at Columbia, but he never talked about it, and I didn't know. I mean, I didn't even know he did it until after I got into it. But it just turned out it was all these really good guys showed up, and we won 2 national championships, and so I really get and then the Olympic idea was planted right there, and and just kept growing, and I kept I said, "Hey," and I just kept going and wanted to fulfill that.
You have any questions?
And that's where it took you to Mexico City. Were you there when Tommy Smith and John Carlos took to the podium?
Yeah, I didn't see any of that. I mean, that was a track stadium. So we were at Xochimilco, which is the and in the Olympic Village, I really didn't see. I never met them. I mean, I've met them later. I've met them both, and
And what's your take on raising
famous.
the fist? How do you feel about? Well, and what was your take then or now or both on their actions on raising their fists?
Well, I think for one thing, that was a political statement, and and my take is that the Olympic Games is for athletics. It isn't for political statements. And the other thing is that the Olympic Games has been a beacon and an opportunity since its inception for people, for athletes, to escape tyranny. And America actually has been the beacon of freedom for the world. And there have been over the years, there have been hundreds or thousands of athletes who have defected from totalitarian regimes for freedom. I mean, it hasn't all been to America. They've defected to Australia. They've defected to Canada. They've defected all over the place. Mm-hmm. But really, America is one of the most free places in the world, and one of the best places in the world. So that I think a lot of this is blown out of proportion, and and most of the Olympic defectors have chosen the USA to defect to, and actually, I spent a lot of time with several Boris Beljak, Brian Bolasic, Vern Cervic, who were three of the Yugoslav 8, who the whole 8 defected in Helsinki, and most of them ended up in the U.S. A bunch of them went to Canada, and then most of them ended up in the U.S.
52, I think.
But the story is that it's pretty. I mean, it's unbelievable what was going on. I mean, how horrific it was, and how they had spies. And as a matter of fact, they also had they had problems between Serbians and Croatians, and most of these guys were Croatian, but their coxswain, the guy that steers the boat, he was a Serbian, and he was a communist, and he was a spy, and they all knew he was a spy, so they had to be they couldn't tell him anything, so because he would report them, and it was just this whole story that they had to coordinate with 8 guys to try to get away, and so anyway, then this has gone on. I mean, and then these are the ones I'm familiar with, and then Jack Kelly from Philadelphia. He was Grace Kelly's brother, and he helped a number of guys in '56 and in '60 to defect, and then I met in '65. I met Andy Toro, who the Jones sisters, who from the U.S. had helped to defect to the U.S. He was a single, what do they call it? Canoe. He was a single canoe, and then in '68, I had competed because I competed in the World Championships in '67 too in Europe. Mm-hmm. And met the Czech double, who were really good. They had finished third for 2 successive world championships, and they came to and they were in my event in Mexico, and as it happened, then this gets into we had the altitude issues, and so these Czech guys were in my heat in the semifinals, and they were really good, and so. But it was high altitude.
I was going to say that must have gassed them. What's the altitude? 7,000 feet.
It was in an endurance event in high altitude. It's a whole new ball game,
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, these guys
major leagues
in my race, they took off like a shot, and they were so far ahead and they were in the lane next to us. They were so far ahead that there was no ripple in the water, and it looked like an empty lane because they were so far ahead of us.
Yeah.
And then we got to the 1,200-meter mark. The bow guy just passed out. It was laying on the deck of the boat. And he was just out.
Oh my God!
And so we ended up. All we had to do is finish third. But anyway, so we won. We ended up winning the semifinal. But these guys were out.
Huh.
And
there's a guy in the boat, not even rowing.
Yeah, one of the guys
passed out.
Defected. I mean, after he defected, he actually defected to Germany. After that race, so he was, he was never seen again.
Maybe he didn't want to face the music from the bad performance.
And then my other story about my personal experience was Walter Lambertus. Now, when I was a coach in Montreal, I just happened to we're on buses. It was after the Munich Olympics. They had all the security. They had, it was just like a fort in the Olympic Village. You couldn't go anywhere without ID and all kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, so I was on the bus going to the course, and I sat next to this guy, and he turned out to be named Walter. He spoke perfect English. He was from Romania, and he said. I told him, hey, I was in Mexico when I was in the double, and he was a single star for Romania, and I just whatever. So I talked to him for like 5 minutes, and then he went off and rowed. I went off and coached, and that was it. So, but one of the things I learned in Mexico was that people, all the athletes, all want to trade stuff, and there's one English word that every athlete understood, and that was change. So if you walked up to somebody and said change, what do you pins, shirts, sweatsuits, whatever, you'd start trading. So I took all this stuff, all kinds of stuff to trade. That as a matter of fact, the Cubans would trade anything for a pair of jeans.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't get, they buy jeans in Cuba and they put them on, and the pant would rip, the leg would rip off, so they were worthless,
Still like that today.
So they would just, that was, they trade anything for a pair of jeans.
Mm-hmm.
So you find out, and pins were a big thing, and I have a whole collection of ties, and anyway, I brought all this stuff to trade. I had lots of time because I was just a coach. I didn't have to go to bed at night. Didn't have to train. Just sit around between practices.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the main part of the Olympic Village and trading. I had this bag and I was trading. So Walter walks up to me and he says, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And I said, "Sure." And he says, I need your help. And I said, "Well, what do you need?" He said, "Well, I'm defecting." And I need someone to get my clothes out of my room because the other thing is they send them with guards. They had coaches, but they had guards. So they were watching them, and so anyway, so I said, "Here, sure, and when do you want to do it?" And I said, "Well, how about now?" I said, so anyway, he said, "Well, here's the plan." And it turned out that he'd been planning this for like 5 years because he'd been going to competitions all over the world and being on just perfect behavior, so they never were watching him too closely and
like escaping from prison.
Anyway, and then he had an uncle or something in Canada, so he said he wanted to defect to Canada. So So anyway, so here's the plan. You're going to take your bag, because I had a little bag with stuff in it, all kinds of trading stuff.
Yeah.
He says, you're going to go up to my room, and we're going to pretend we're trading, and then we're going to then you're going to grab my bag, and I'll take your bag, and we'll walk out, pretend we're going to do more trading. I said, great, let's do it.
Cool.
So anyway, so we go up there, go up to his room, and see they had different buildings for the and the U.S. team was in one building, and the Romanian team was in another building, and they had, I don't know how many, about 6 buildings with athletes in them. And so anyway, so we go up to his room, and we're gonna do this little charade. And as we walk in, and they have like a living room, and there's like 15 guys in there. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And athletes, coaches, all kinds of, and spies, and or guards.
Guards.
And as we walk in, they're all glued to this huge flat screen. I don't know if it's flat screen or what at that point, but it's a huge TV. And Nadia Comaneci was on the balance beam.
Oh.
And they were just glued to the balance beam, watching her do her perfect 10.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I said to Walter, hey, let's not screw around. Let's just grab your stuff and let's get out of here.
Yeah.
So nobody even saw us. Nobody knew we were there.
Uh-huh.
I mean, because they were just focused, on what Nadia Comaneci.
Yeah.
And
big Romanian thing.
Yeah,
they were undressing her with
so
their
then
eyes.
we took Walter's stuff over to my room and dropped it off, and then he said, okay, I'm going to come by with the Canadian Mounties and pick up my stuff tomorrow. And I said, or I came our way with tomorrow or that day or later that day. I said, great, okay. So that's what he did, and he defected, and then as time went on, after the Olympics were over and all this stuff, I found out how serious this was, because for one thing, he was tried and convicted in absentia, because they never caught him, but he was tried in absentia for defecting for 20 years in prison at hard labor. Yeah.
That would be the end of your life.
Oh. And so what he had to do is he had to keep his whereabouts totally secret, because they had Romanian secret police that were roaming the world trying to get defectors back. And so he was paranoid. Well, I wasn't paranoid, because it was a real threat. So and I went to visit him in one of his first apartments, which was in Niagara Falls, Canada, and this a few years later, and he had a rope ladder going out the window. He had like 4 bolt locks on the door, and he was ready for him to come and try to take him away, and then what he had to do to communicate with his parents. He had a friend in Austria, and he would send letters to Austria. His friend in Austria would repackage the letter, take the letter out of the envelope, put it in another envelope, and send it to his parents. So they couldn't trace where he was. And as it ended up, he did really well. He ended up being the food manager, and Jack and I went up and visited him, and actually he gave me a bottle of Romanian brandy as a thank you, and we drank it together up at Whistler, because he was the food manager at the restaurant up in Whistler.
Oh, nice.
And so he did really well. He met a girl, had a family. I think he had 3 kids, and so he did really well, and he had a really good life.
Yeah, but it's just how do you keep your address and whereabouts secret like that and still have a good life? It's hard to.
Yeah,
well, then Romania disappears.
Exactly. Well, of course, Ceausescu, he got overthrown, but the other interesting side part of the story is that Nadia Comaneci defected.
Yes.
And she's here in Los Angeles, and I've actually met her and talked to her a little bit about this.
Yeah.
I don't think she was too impressed, but but that she was actually an instant. But she had the same, she wanted to get away too. So the point is, I guess, of all this rambling story, but it really is relevant because the Olympics has been an avenue for people
freedom,
that are oppressed to get away, and guess where they're getting away to? The U.S.
Right.
They're not getting away to the totalitarian places where they have thought police, where you can't say this, and you can't say that, and you can't, where your every action is controlled. Places like China, where where they actually have concentration camps if you're the wrong religion, and this is so. Well, I guess my point is that in perspective, and I think what it is actually, it's not it's these totalitarian guys that are have co-opted the black story, and they're actually trying to promote totalitarian government here, because freedom you can't have freedom, because you can't think the way you want to think, because that's not the way they want to be in control, so
that's a good way of tying it back in a very political, a very nice way, I should say, or a very thoughtful way to tie it back without stepping on anyone's toes, John. Well done.
Yeah, that was really
it's just
interesting.
I'm just trying to tell the truth. I mean, because it is. I mean, it's like, and when you think about these governments, whoever defected to the Soviet Union,
other than Lee Harvey Oswald, I can't name anybody. Can you?
Whoever defected to East Germany, unless they were spies and getting
You'd have to have some serious brain damage.
Well, again, other than Lee Harvey Oswald, I can't name anybody.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Speaking of Nadia Comaneci, I've actually got this quick clip of her floor routine here.
Jim, it's 3:30 in the morning where you are, but it's already noon here in Burgerglob, Yugoslavia, where little Nadia Comaneci is preparing for her final floor exercise. Alex Van Diesel, do you think it's a little chilly here in the Tito Pavilion today?
It sure is, Don. And Don, the new leotards the girls are wearing this year are cut to ride so high on the buttocks and hips that this chilly air is finding a lot of exposed young flesh. Already I can see that little goosebumps have risen on the thighs of the young Romanian girl.
Alex, it looks like Nadia is ready to begin. She stands erect, pert little chest thrust out, shoulders back, head held high. And she begins with a leap and a cabriole into a hurdle jump, followed by a flick-flack and a front handspring, then a step out into a chassé forward, and a perfect handstand. Ooh.
So far, Don, a flawless performance.
Now a stomach roll, a fish hop, a Tinsiger forward, now 2 Maurer flip-flops, followed by a lunge into a tuck somersault. And an Arab Spring.
Don, did you notice how Nadia's nipples stood out? Absolute perfection.
Boy, I'd like to fuck her.
Well, Don, I'm no Leslie.
Oh, wow, that got a little dirty. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You
National Lampoon.
See that commentary will be prohibited. Because that's sexist.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't talk about the firm little butt and the and the riding high of the the crotch or whatever the hell. I mean, you can't. This is what's happening.
That's where we're moving. I mean,
it's thought police.
You can't even have. You can't even have an Eskimo pie anymore.
They're affiliated. These groups are affiliated with political movements. That's what they're, and they've attached on to the black problems.
Mm-hmm.
But when you compared to what the problems of some of these other countries, I mean, it's really not anywhere near in the same category.
Oh, when you put things in perspective, absolutely not. In fact, I just heard this figure the other day, and I bears repeating, that if you took all of, the African Americans living in the United States, they'd be the 20th wealthiest country in the world.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the whole thing.
I'm proud to say that.
And there really are.
Everything's relative.
There really are depressed places that are the economically depressed. Now, my wife goes frequently to Uganda and works with Catholic priests and
oh wow,
we've actually been helping them with building schools and building hospitals and churches.
That's fantastic.
And they, you know, I mean, in other words, now it's not quite as bad as it was when Idi Amin was there.
Oh, good heavens!
But you know, but when you got a country that's run like that, and there's one guy that calls all the shots, and if he in Idi Amin's case where he goes nuts, you're screwed. You know, I mean, there's nothing. You know, there's nothing you could do, and then she's also spent some time in Rwanda where that was just a total mess.
Mm-hmm.
Where so you know there's a lot of my point
Mugabe.
was that there's a hell of a lot of places in the world that are worse than the U.S. You know, and nobody really talks about it. And
well, the media doesn't talk about it. But
it's not just economic. It's free speech, and of course, that's what the other thing that's happening now is that you can't say what you believe. You can't because you're a racist if you say that if you don't agree with their orthodoxy, you get called names.
Right.
Oh, but that's why I reject that. We all reject that, that's not true. In America, we can have differing opinions, and we don't have to agree with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not according to these guys.
It's getting hard.
Where's their American card?
It's getting very difficult with what's going on in
That's nonsense. That's not America.
With censorship and Google and Twitter. I don't use Twitter, so I'm not really up on that. But I heard about.
I've never done any Twitter. I don't. I do email and I do text, but I don't. I've never. Anyway.
Are you on Facebook, John? Are you on Facebook?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook.
Oh well, maybe I can.
But I really,
friend you.
I really
Jack.
don't. I mean, I'm not too active on that either. You know, I just, I use it a little bit, but I'm not really,
Yeah.
Actually,
the newspaper's nothing used to be.
My wife for her birthday said, what I really want for my birthday is Alexa. I want to get Alexa.
Oh no, you don't.
The
really
the Amazon.
She won't. She'll listen to you 24/7. She will listen.
I want to say, hey, I want to listen to Dolly Parton, and I want Alexa to play it.
Oh,
I said okay. So I get her this. I get down to Best Buy and I get this.
John, do you like
this unit?
You like Dolly Parton? Is that what you said?
Yeah. No, that's my wife likes Dolly Parton.
Oh, because we could play you something that along that vein if you'd like to hear something. You want to play?
That's all right. No. Anyway, I was just telling you. So I was at Best Buy, and I talked to I went because I had no idea how to set this thing up. So I went into the Geek Squad, and so this kid's in the Geek Squad, young kid, maybe 20 years old or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh yeah. He said, yeah, for $100 we can set you up. And I said, great. So anyway, so then I'm talking. I said, gee, I'm having real trouble with the changes. I mean, it's everything's happening so fast. I can't keep up with all this stuff. And he said, yeah, I'm having trouble too. Every week it's something new. And this is a guy that works at the Geek Squad, and he's 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm back in kindergarten. And can't don't know anything. Because everything's changed. Everything that I used to know or used to be able to do, I can't do anymore.
It's hard to keep up.
Well, pretty much. Brian on the line. Brian was with AT&T in the operating department, weren't you, Brian?
Yeah. I worked at AT&T. I was also at Verizon for 11 years when all the newfangled cell phones here and smartphones came out too.
Yeah, well, Brian, you could do some voiceovers, couldn't you? Some. What did it sound like when you were working for AT&T? Did you ever do any messages for people?
This number's disconnected.
No, I didn't do any of that.
No, you have a good voice for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think would sound good.
Yeah, I worked my customer service years, always seemed to work.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of anachronistic things, I was calling to the telephone. The technology today is so different than what we all grew up with in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And yet,
there was a great video
happening.
that was out recently about these two teenagers that were trying to figure out how to work a dial phone, and it was hilarious. They couldn't figure out how to do it. You know, about what, you know, how to dial and how to, you know, when to pick up the receiver, hang up the receiver, or, you know, I mean, they were just, you know, they had no clue how to do it. It was pretty funny.
Because it's not on TV, and they don't watch TV anyway. But even if they watch TV, when was the last time you saw somebody use a dial phone on TV? Unless it's, you know, Perry Mason or something, but they don't. That demographic won't watch that.
Yeah, that's right.
It looks weird when you're using a flip phone. I've seen flip phones sometimes.
Well, there's Motorola bricks.
On TV sometimes. You know the program's dated when you see that.
Yeah.
So you had some very interesting experiences, and now your son is doing all those triathlon.
He's gone totally crazy with.
You must be proud of him. He's quite good at that.
Rowing and all these triathlons and Ironmen and Ultramen and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, actually, he just sent me a little picture on email, or maybe it's text, about his Australian friend, because he ran the Ironman in Cairns, Australia, and he's standing by the sign that says watch out for sharks, crocodiles, and in the swim, you know, the 2.5 mile swim, and they're saying, well, sharks, crocodiles, and jellyfish are in the water
in nature.
And I didn't ask him this question, but I wonder if he saw that sign before he got on the water, or if he just saw it after. You know?
Too late now.
Kind of feels like to me he saw it before. He seems like he's so dedicated and driven that hardly anything could stop him.
Well, that would give me pause. Of course, you know, and then he swam in the Ultraman with alligators. There was definitely alligators in the water. Of course, alligators aren't quite as dangerous as the Australian crocodiles.
Those are killers.
They were, you know.
I don't understand how you could do that. I mean, I wouldn't go near anything remotely full of crocodiles. It's in sharks. Oh my God.
Yeah, and I heard a story that during World War II, the Japanese made some kind of a incursion, or some kind of amphibious incursion into northern Australia, and somehow they got into this area where it was just infested with these crocodiles, and a lot of them got killed. I mean, they're wading ashore or something, and all of a sudden, you know, it was
feeding frenzy.
They were attacked by the crocodiles. So it's pretty, you know. So I don't know. And then of course, once there's blood in the water, you know, then it gets nuts, you know.
Yeah.
USS Indiana.
Well, we're coming up towards the end of the show, Brian. Anything else you'd like to ask John?
No. I mean, it's fascinating to hear all that, your thoughts and perspective and everything, John. That was great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, and then there's the whole other issue about high altitude.
Well, you obviously you were able to deal with it. It was perfect for you because you were in great shape, I guess.
Well, yeah, except that we went to high altitude training in Colorado, Gunnison, Colorado, which is exactly the same altitude as Mexico City.
Good, that'll do it.
But it was very dry there because it was in Gunnison. It was on the western side of the mountain, so they didn't get much rain there, and it was real dry. So all of us we were doing interval training, and we were doing really heavy breathing, and everybody on the team developed a cough because of the dry air. And my partner developed bronchitis, and he never could shake the bronchitis. And so we competed the whole, you know, the heats, the semifinals, the final, and he had bronchitis the whole time. And as a matter of fact, he passed out after every race, and out cold actually after our heat. And they had the Mexican medical team came down to the duck. He never went in the water. A bunch of guys just passed out and rolled in the water. So they actually had boats, medical boats, following the races, pulling guys out of the water so they didn't drown. Wow. And anyway, so he passes out on the dock. They grab him, take him into the medical tent, put an oxygen mask on him, but they forgot to turn the oxygen on. Uh-oh. So he almost died, but he was awake enough that he ripped the oxygen mask off his mouth so he could breathe. Mm. But anyway, so that was it was kind of a lot of drama, and and actually he passed out on the dock at the after the final, so he won a bronze medal, even though he was really sick, and he couldn't move. So the singles car had to get in the boat with me to go and get the medal. But anyway, the funny part of that story was that they had his folks and my folks both came down, and after the race we had this dinner planned. We were going to all go out to dinner, and his folks showed up, my folks showed up, and everyone was there except he didn't show up, and so we didn't know what happened to him. We were kind of having a celebratory dinner. Uh-huh. So anyway, the next day I'm in the Olympic Village and I see him and I say, "Hey, Bill, what happened to you? Your folks are there. You didn't show up." He says, "I was so depressed. We didn't win the gold medal that I went out and drank tequila." And I said, "Well, how many tequilas did you have?" He said, "About 6." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Well, how do you feel?" He said, "Well, I feel okay." He said, "The cough's gone. My cough's gone," which he'd had, this cough he'd had for 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. So that was the solution to our problem was tequila, and we just never realized it. we could have got rid of the bronchitis with tequila, but we didn't know it till it was too late.
So that might help a lot of people that are sick right now, I guess.
Those
starting on the tequila. All right, well we're out of time right now, but thank you for calling in and talking to us about all those things. Dating back to your rowing career and what happened after it, and
as a participant, as a coach, different changes in the decades.
Yeah,
fascinating story.
It's almost like a James Bond movie.
Really?
Yeah, all that traveling and seeing new cultures.
I didn't realize it. I didn't realize at the time. How especially that helping Walter. I mean, how dangerous that was. Mm-hmm. I just said, "Hey, let's do it." I had no idea.
And Brian, thank you for calling in. We do end with a song usually, Eric. So I don't know what we could queue up for this. What do you want to play?
Well, I've got Waterloo Sunset by the Kinks here, but I mean, I'm open if you want me to change it.
We could play some Rolling Stones.
Was pretty good. Let's go Rolling Stones.
Yeah, that's a good song for this time period. This will probably bring back memories, John. Rolling Stones
doing the
song.
Exiles here.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard this?
Right.
It's called Street
Fighting Man from 1968.
All right. Thank you for calling in. Thank you to Jack, Don.
Oh, hey, thanks, guys. It's fun.
Have a good, safe week. Okay? Thank you, Brian. Talk to you later. Take care. Thank you, Eric. See you next week.